Yeah, we should be good.
Okay. All right. So it's 7:02. I'll call our meeting to order in the interest of time. Um, First up, we will approve the November board meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes or anything to add to that or anything like that? Otherwise, do we have a motion to approve the November minutes?
Motion.
Teresa, the motion is for Teresa. And is there a second?
I will.
All right, Victoria, thank you. I'm assuming, can we just do, I've been watching the school board meetings. Do we want to do roll call for every vote or do we just want to?
And we're technically we probably should, but we've just
Okay.
been doing it on the important ones. Like nobody cares about the minutes and adjourning, and
Okay.
those are always unanimous. So
All
I would
right.
say let's stick to the important ones.
Gotcha. We will do that. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 And those opposed? All right, that motion passes. And the agenda for tonight, does anybody have anything to change or add tonight?
Real quick, Renee, I would like a chance just to check in with what we want to do with Scholastic book fairs.
Oh, yes.
Our
okay.
rep's just been asking me. I'm sure they just want something, but if we're not
Sure.
okay with it, I'll just let her know. And
No, we can, yes, we'll,
I thought we were gonna maybe think about doing that in the early spring, so maybe
we'll
we
add
can,
that after, let's do that after we chat about staff appreciation gifts.
yes, of course.
So we'll make that item
Or
7.
next time, I mean, whatever we need to do.
Sure. Oh, no, we need to talk about it because we had mentioned it in kind of in passing, and it'd be nice to get something official
Sure.
in our minutes too. So do we have a motion to approve the updated agenda?
Yes.
All right. Was that Michaela?
Yep.
All right, Michaela, thank you. Is there a second? All right, Teresa seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed? All right, that one carries. So Mr. Gordy was not able to make it this evening. He didn't have very much for a budget update. One thing he did mention for our executive board, the Islamic Resource Group is willing to do the training. We had mentioned months ago that there was a training for teaching about women in Islam, and they're willing to do a training session for our executive group online, which would be really neat. And then hopefully with vaccines, once it becomes safe enough to do so, maybe in late spring, even early summer, we could try to do something in person. And maybe if the initial meeting with our executive board is successful, we can open it up to other families that might want to join or other parents that might want to join in and learn about that too. I'm going to talk to Eric Anderson and kind of get the ball rolling and see. It seems like after our youth service bureau meetings, it'll be fairly, it won't be so bad. So maybe one of our PTA meetings in the springtime, maybe we can have somebody from the Islamic Center join us and kind of give us the lesson or use some of that time for a lesson like that. What do you guys think? Okay,
I love it.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll just touch base with Eric and see what we can manage, and things will probably change in the next few months anyhow. So that might change, but we'll at least get it started. He did want to mention, and we had talked about this before the meeting officially started. The great news is we have some students in the building, level 3 special education students, started back at school for a little bit today. And Diana is with our special education department, and she said that they're in school from about 8:45 to 11:45. So that's wonderful news. I know the teachers have been anxious to get back with their students, and the students, I'm positive, want to get back in the classroom as soon as possible. The one other thing that Stephen wanted me to mention was at this point, it looks like we're going to keep staying on track for coming back in person, hybrid, January 25th. And so anything could change. Obviously, they're going to consult the health department and I'm sure the county too, just to see what their suggestions and recommendations are. But for right now, he said, it looks like we'll hopefully be coming back by January 25th. He did want to mention that the deadline is coming up for stating your preference. If you're in hybrid and want to switch to distance or vice versa, the deadline is coming up pretty quick for that, and that will be for the third quarter. And I can't remember. He mentioned when the deadline was, but I know it's coming up soon. I might have to check on that and get back to you guys.
I thought it was sometime this month.
Oh, the end of the first week, we're back. So when we come back in January, it's the end of that first week. That's when it'll be due. I asked him about vaccines, and he said, and I said, do you know where teachers and staff are as far as tier 1, tier 2? And he said he was under the impression it's tier 2. It hasn't been confirmed. So once healthcare workers, first responders, and the elderly, once they're taken care of with vaccines, then educators will be hopefully part of that second wave of people receiving vaccines. So that's a good sign. Hopefully that stays. And I think that was that. That was just about everything he wanted to mention for the principal's report. So we will move on to our budget. We'll start it off with a budget request, and I wanted to introduce Diana, and please, I'll let you introduce yourself and say your last name because I don't want to butcher it. And please tell us who you are and why you're here.
All right, sounds good. So it's Diana Villeneuve. So it's easier than it looks, but also doesn't look like it sounds. So no worries. Most of my kids call me Miss Diana or Mrs. V. So I teach adapted physical education at Lake Elmo. I have now for 12 years. I love Lake Elmo. It is an amazing place. And at Lake Elmo, I'm lucky enough to have a space, which is super rare. So developmental adapted physical education is basically the special ed service that helps prepare kids to go to physical education or to get involved in recreational gross motor activities, and helps them be more successful because they learn the skills. So basically I think of what I do as like the building blocks of gross motor skills, like basic throwing, catching, rolling a ball, dribbling, kicking, striking with their hand or with an implement, running, galloping, sliding, all those things. Jumping, that's a big one. And then for a lot of my students, especially a lot of my higher functioning students, more your level 1 and 2 special education students, we work a lot on like coordination and strength and, awareness of their body in space, facial awareness, or eye-hand coordination, a little bit higher level skills, but they're still lower than their peers in those areas. So, and the only way a kid can get adapted Phy-Ed is if they have a special education label or categorical area that they're served under in the special education world. So it's always kind of fun to go to general Phy-Ed. I do that sometimes push in when we're not in COVID times. And it's fun because I can kind of, help other kids that, because I mean, let's be honest, my daughter could use extra help sometimes with certain skills, and my daughter's 9. My kids go to school in River Falls. But so I'm always like, oh, hey, make sure you step with that opposite foot. So it's kind of fun to see other students as well. But to get DAPE, you have to qualify through special ed. So first of all, thank you so much for hearing my request and considering funding something for DAPE. I know it touches a smaller number of students, especially right now, because we do have at least 4 students who are not in the building right now that are enrolled other places because of COVID. So my caseload is actually smaller based on just COVID times. There are kids that aren't with us at all. So I have about 12, well, I have 13 kids, but 12 who I would consider doing kits for. The other student is an indirect student, so she's not necessarily working on skills as much as the other kids. So, which is really small for me. Usually at Lake Elmo, I usually have at least 20 kids. So it's kind of nice to try something like I'm going to tell you about when we have fewer students to serve. So basically, when I got the survey, it just made my mind go, oh my gosh, like I had a student say to me when I was preparing them for distance learning, I had a student say to me, I don't have any equipment at home. Cause I was like, well, do you have a bouncing ball? Do you have a jump rope? Do you have something you can throw at a wall and it'll bounce back and catch? And he's like, no. And it made me realize, you know, you do have the lucky kids that have that stuff at home, but we, especially at Lake Elmo, have quite a few kids who don't have that stuff at home and who can't ask for that stuff at home. And so it just, when I saw that question, I was like, gosh, with distance learning, it has become more obvious that it's not equitable between my students when they're at home learning these skills. And so I considered every skill that I kind of mentioned earlier, like throwing, catching, dribbling, kicking, all those skills that I want them to be able to work on. And even fitness, I came up with a bunch of ways I could work on that as well. And I just thought, okay, how can I put together a kit that would be equipment that would work to work on all of these skills? So of course, I went to Amazon and started looking around because I was thinking, you know, I need a ball that bounces because that works for dribbling, that works for kicking, that works for catching, that works for so many things. You know, so a playground ball, which those are one of the more spendy items on the list because they're a playground ball. You know, a jump rope, a smaller ball that bounces so they can do overhand throwing at the wall and catch it. You know, things like that. Balloons so they can work on striking and eye-hand coordination. Cones so they can have a marked spot to go to and from doing locomotor skills. You know, just, and then poly spots, the things that I put on the floor, they're just to mark where their feet go. Because my kids, when they're in the DAPE gym, are used to having these visuals to help them. And they're at home and they're just like supposed to know how to do it. So to give you a little information of how I've been doing DAPE with distance learning, I've been sending seesaw videos every week. And I send 4 videos and I call them stations. And so my kids are getting these stations and I've been trying really hard in my videos to say, I know you don't have poly spots at home, but grab 2 paper towels and use those as your spots to show you where to put your feet. Use a laundry basket and use that as your target. So what's been concerning for me is I'm not getting a ton of engagement. I have my like 2-star students, of course, that send me videos. And they are your kids whose parents are more involved, who are, you know, who I know have more access. But a lot of my students aren't showing me much back. And what I'm feeling is that perhaps these videos are a little overwhelming and the need to find equipment of any kind is overwhelming. What I would like to do is to simplify it and make it a little bit easier for my students to like, oh, well, I just take this and this and I do this, you know, simplify it, make it a little bit more concrete because a lot of my kids are black and white. That's why they're, you know, a lot of their disabilities make them a lot more concrete like that. So I just feel like it would help them to be able to say, oh, I take out the poly spots. There's 2 of them. I take out 2 poly spots and the small ball and I throw it at the wall and I try to catch it. You know, like it would just help simplify things and level the playing field of they all have the same equipment and they can all practice the same skills in the same way, kind of like they do in the DAPE gym with me. So I think with the kits, my idea is to put a grid in there with, you know, Mary Verteen's class earlier, well, actually in the spring, we did choice boards to simplify and make it so that, you know, parents have more choice, more flexibility. They can look at that choice board and go, not doing that today, but I can do that. And then they don't have to watch a video. They don't have to refer to me every time, but they are doing something to improve their gross motor skills. Because what worries me right now, I just had an IEP meeting with one of my students who's distance learning, and they are wonderful parents, but they are swamped. And the dad was like, I'm so sorry, but DAPE is back burner. And I was like, I hear ya, you're overwhelmed. And the thing that I think would really help with that is making it more concrete and making it simplified, that they have a list of activities, this grid, and I would like to just laminate them, give them a marker that they can X off and try to fill up the whole grid by the end of the month or whatever. I mean, it would simplify it for them, and I would hope make them feel like, oh, this is so easy and fun. When my kid is bored, I can say, do a box on the grid. I would do that with my kids. You know, like it's a lot easier than, oh, find your Chromebook, go to Seesaw, look up DAPE, try to find the video. Now you have to find the equipment for it. So I just feel like it would simplify it a lot. I do think, you know, some of the parents might have some of the equipment. If I sent a list, they might say, oh, well, we already have a ball like that. And I wouldn't necessarily have to send a full kit to everyone. But things like one of the items in the bag would be a fitness dice. That's literally like one of those larger dice with Velcro on the sides. And then I would give them like 12 to 24 PEC symbols to mix up what's on the dice. So it would be the locomotor skills and then exercises. And so like stuff like that, I mean, all of them would need, because they don't have that at home. But just things like that that I feel like they could have and really use to get their kids moving without so many steps. I would want to possibly make it like a checkout system. The one thing that I was a little concerned about is it's a lot of upfront cost if we're gonna lose all of this stuff and never see any of it ever again. And so I think if we made it like a Chromebook or the books in the library and we put a barcode on it, and we at least get half of the equipment back. I mean, say they lose a couple pieces, okay, you know, they broke one, whatever. But if we get most of the kits back at the end of the school year, that would be ideal. And then obviously, like, if kids don't need all the stuff, then we would have that stuff to use as replacements as well. So the items on the list, I don't know, I mean, it's your basic equipment: playground ball, jump rope, the little sensory ball that bounces, a beach ball, cones, balloons, these like 22-inch noodles. So they're not as long, and so they'd be perfect for working on striking, both up high, down on the ground, one-handed, very versatile. String balls, you know, like Cush balls, but cheaper. And then a mesh bag to put it all in, and those poly spots for their feet, and then just those fitness dice, which I would have to just make with the PEC symbols. But, you know, everything could be cleaned really easily. Everything's like not that porous. So I would be able to clean it. So yeah, I feel like it would help my students, you know, have a little bit more level playing field and actually work on all their skills instead of putting DAPE on the back burner, which makes me so sad. So do you have any questions about, I mean, and obviously I'll tell you so what Renee and I talked about was potentially the possibility of starting with like a set of 6, so we can try it out and see how it goes, because obviously that would be cheaper than doing 12. But I do have 12 students, so if we wanted to do all 12, then it would be a higher cost. So for the six bags with all of those things that I mentioned, it would be $236.85 as of today on Amazon. And for the 12 sets, it would be $383.92. So that would be for the 6 sets or the 12 sets. And honestly, I would just be grateful for anything. Even, I mean, the other thing is, if we started smaller, I don't know, but I mean, I was very picky trying to fulfill the skills that I know are my kids' IEP objectives. and that are those basic building block skills that I know that they need for general phys ed when they eventually come back to school. So does anybody have any questions about any of that?
I think Eva had a question.
I just have a comment. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. And I've been chatting with my next door neighbor who has, she's a high schooler, ninth grader, but I think she's level 2 with special ed. And her parents are so involved, but they struggle with this too. And I just know that they would totally appreciate that. And I know she's a high school student, but I was just chatting where they're saying, this is what they're going to do at Lake Elmo. And she was saying, oh my gosh, it would be so easy. I mean, everybody struggles with logging on and firing up
Exactly.
the computer and all this stuff. And we don't want the specialists and everyone to be back burner, but I get why that happens. So I really appreciate you trying to find ways that we can make it more adaptable and easy for our parents. So I am just really appreciative, and I think you are right on the money, and that's great. So yay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, she also said she would love like fidget spinners or like fidget toys for her kids or for her daughter. I don't know if that's something that you'd want to consider adding to that, or if you think that would be helpful, but that's something she said she really, really struggled with. Something to keep her daughter's hands busy while she's trying to do the schoolwork. So
yeah.
But you've thought of so many wonderful things. So that was just her feedback.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good idea. And honestly, like for some of my level 3 students, some of that stuff is really helpful. I will say I did pick like a jump rope that's beaded, because I have students that like to shake, like, shake the rope, or like the sensory ball. I chose that because it does have the nubbies, so it serves that multiple purpose, even though it also bounces off the wall for my higher functioning kiddos. So I did try to think about that a little bit, just those kids that do have more of those sensory needs. And like the string ball, I'm like, there's a few things in there that are, kind of cover that whole range of need, hopefully. So.
Teresa, it looked like you had a question.
Yeah, I was curious if you had kind of surveyed your 12 families at all to see how many of them truly feel like they would benefit from having the supplies, versus just, we're on the back burner, but we don't need the supplies. Do you have an idea about roughly how many families truly would need it or utilize it?
I feel like at least, so out of the 12, I would say maybe 1, 2, I would say maybe 5 of my families would really benefit from the equipment side of it, just in general of they don't have access. I would say all of them would benefit from, here's a grid with the exact activities and the exact equipment you need to use to simplify it, if that makes sense. I have not surveyed them though. I just know, like, as a parent too, it's like if I'm given a kit and told everything you need for this list is in this kit, and it's just that simplified version of DAPE, I think it would help all of them. But I haven't asked, like, do you guys have a this or that? And I thought about it, but I'm like, I also don't want to ask when I can't provide it for them. When I'm like, oh, hey, do you not have a bouncing ball? Oh, cool. Well, good luck. Don't know what to do. So, I mean, I did at one point suggest to my parents in one of my Seesaw messages, if you don't have equipment, Culver's, like, you can build up, like, if you ever eat at Culver's, save up your ticket so you can get a playground ball at Culver's. So, I mean, I did suggest that one time, maybe last spring or something, but then I'm like, again, Culver's is kind of expensive. And if and you have to get 10 kids meals. So I'm like, that's not always the greatest possibility, but I was like, it's something, you're getting food and a ball. So, but yeah.
We could just ask our families to donate Culver's dollars and we could just fund it off of Culver's.
Right? For the bouncing ball, for sure, because those are really nice playground balls. My kids each have one. Like, they are really nice. Mm-hmm.
One of my other questions was, I know you had mentioned checking it out, and if we were to do the 12, I'm sure it would just, everybody would get one for the rest of the year. If we did 6, would you foresee just kind of seeing how many families would benefit from it and giving them to those, or would you give like 3 families or 6 families for like a couple weeks and then rotate them back? How do you think you'd do that?
So I think what I would do if we did the 6, because like we just mentioned, the level 3, the tier 3 kiddos are at school, and I am going to be seeing them once a week, because they're getting something and the other kids aren't getting anything right now. I would probably give the kits, if we did the 6, I would give them to the kids that I'm not seeing at all in person, which would be who was it that's not coming? I think one of Mary's kids opted out, but I don't remember who it is right now. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 kids that are not level 3. And then I think there is one kiddo in level 3 that is opting out, but I don't remember who that is. So it would work out that I could do like level 1 and 2 and possibly a level 3 kid, if we started with the 6, and kind of see how it goes. I mean, those kids are also, a couple of those are the ones that I am the most concerned about equipment with too. So, and simplifying, just because what I also know is that those kids are trying to do everything. They're trying to do gen ed, they're trying to do special ed, they're trying to do specialists, like gen ed specialists, they're trying to do adapted, specialist speech or OT, and then me. So they're also, I think, some of the most overwhelmed. But level 3, I feel like those parents just want ideas so bad. The thing is, if I make that grid, I could still, even without sending a kit, I could still send them the grid to start, and just say, try to be creative with the equipment, which is what I've done up to this point. And just see.
Kits that could be created? Are there
Say that again?
Are there mini kits that could be created? Like if you've got your kids, like if we funded the 6, but then if you were to make a supplemental grid for the kids that can't get the full kit, could you purchase like some of the smaller or cheaper items and still have like a supplementary kit that would be beneficial?
Well, so here's the thing. So with the 6 sets, the sensory balls, the beach ball, the cones, the balloons, the string balls, those things. So like quite a few of the things come in sets of 12, and that they only come in sets of 12. So the things that make the 12 more expensive is the mesh bags, the playground balls, and the jump ropes, and the noodle. So those are the things that it makes it a lot more expensive when you go to 12. Everything else comes in sets of 12. So, I mean, we could make mini kits for some of the kiddos.
Does anybody have any other questions? I think the one question I had too, Diana, so let's, beyond COVID, if everything goes back to normal, how would these kits be used beyond that? Is it maybe if kids are at home sick, or if they have surgery or something where they'd be gone for an extended period of time? I guess, have you looked that far ahead? I know everyone's just kind of in the moment right now.
Trying to get through now, yeah. No, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, and even like, a kid like the one that said to me, I don't have any of that stuff at home, letting him always, like every year, even when we're not in COVID times, like letting a kid like him take a kit home for the year. Like, hey, I want you to be working on gross murder at home. This kit you can take out for the year. Just bring it back at the end of the year, and that's why I'm like, if there's a mesh bag, hopefully they'll, think of it as everything stays in the bag and it goes back. And, that is one of the more expensive things is the mesh bag, but it's such an important part because if they can't keep it together, we're going to lose everything. So, but yeah, I think, moving forward, it would be especially useful for those kids who just have no access. Not even, because I feel like once they're back in school and I'm seeing them twice and they're getting, general phy ed and DAPE and it's back to normal, I won't be as worried about them, like making sure that they're doing these things at home as much. But a kid that has no access to gross motor stuff, and I mean, I have a reasonable amount of those over the years that would really benefit from having some of that equipment at home, even if it was just for that year or whatever. And maybe with some of those kids too, maybe they don't need it during the school year, but maybe we offer it during the summer, like here's some ideas for you to work on over the summer while you're not in school. Because I mean, we know which kids don't really have access, and I mean, I can always do a survey with parents and find out specifically what access they do and don't have. I did do a survey kind of like that, but it got really I don't know, crazy. Like it wasn't specific enough. I made a Google form and it was the first one I ever made and it was not great. So like the data came back and I was like, that doesn't help me. Like, what was I thinking? So, but I had already made parents do a survey, so they would do another one now, I think. But yeah, so I think, summer use might actually be
Sure.
really helpful for some of my kids, but.
Well, thank you so much, Diana. Thanks for bringing this to our attention and for giving us a lot of good information. You're welcome to stay while we discuss it. And as long as nobody has anything really, I don't know if anybody has any huge objections, I think we could vote on it this evening as well. So again, you're welcome to stay, but we'll chat about it now and do the vote. And if you do choose to leave, we can let you know what we decide this evening or tomorrow morning.
What's normal? Like, because I can stay. I don't.
Oh, you can.
Like, would you have further questions, or like, would it help for me to stick around just so that
Sure.
Because yeah, I mean, I can just stay and
I've been at meetings where people have like kicked us out after we make our plea for money, and then they go, "Okay, we'll see you later." So
yeah,
you're welcome to do either one. So please stay if you'd like to, and it'd be great if you
okay.
have questions too. Does anybody want to start the discussion? What do you guys think? As we've been kind of listening to Diana and getting some of our questions answered.
I think you guys kind of know how I feel about it from my comment. I think it's relatively a small amount of money, and I think we have a really big impact. And let's assume we get a good chunk of this back, and I mean, the items, and that we'll be able to use it again for summer or over winter break or spring break, or if these students have a surgery or are gone for an extended period of time. I love it. I think the ease of having a kit is really important, and just the consistency between what they have seen and what they're going to see at home during these times can be really important. So, I mean, unless it's just really impossible for us to do this, I'm all about supporting this. So thanks for the information, Diana. It was really helpful.
And Angie and Casey or Kathy, I don't know if both of you guys are here. Please feel free to weigh in too, because you're part of the discussion. You're here, and we want you to feel free to speak up if you have any concerns or questions or anything to add to the discussion. Michaela, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I feel like it's like Eva said, it's a small request, and I think we have $5,000 kind of allocated by board vote. Mm-hmm. So we haven't had any other requests yet that I know of, right? Nope. And I don't know what else will come up, but it seems like a very small expense. So I share the same sentiments as Eva.
I was just going to ask Michaela if we had the finances to do the full 12. I guess that's where I'm more leaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it makes sense too.
I agree. I think it's something that the students can use more than once. And I think it'd be a great benefit to the students to be able to get them the stuff that they need to use.
Right.
I think since some of those items already come in packs of 12, I mean, it only makes sense to to have them all come, you know, get 12 of everything and have those extra packs. It can't hurt. Certainly somebody will use it. If not this year, definitely next year or in the summer. Laura, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, did we have something originally in the budget, I know it's usually we allocate to the different departments. Was there anything for DAPE originally in the budget or?
I think DAPE is just included with special education, and that's
Okay.
that $500 that all of the special education teachers use.
Okay,
So
I just couldn't remember, so thank you.
I actually had the same question. I was like, I haven't used any money, so
Right.
maybe I had some that I didn't use that could go towards this, but I have no idea. So
Well,
thank you for
and
asking that.
that's what's tricky about special education is that, I mean, and we had a smaller amount too, but we changed the amount last year, I believe. It was, I think, $300 for special education. We changed it to $500 because special ed doesn't have their own field trip, because we did allocate money for a special education field trip, which Mary told us that you guys don't have. The students go on the field trips with all the other students. And so we kind of took that money and gave it to special ed. The thing is, there's so many special ed teachers and different departments within special ed that, I mean, the $500 goes quick. And so, yeah, so this is completely understandable, even though special education does get a stipend. I mean, you're sharing it with so many other teachers that this is understandable. This is an understandable request.
Well, and I wonder too, Fayed, I know gets $1,000. I don't know if this could qualify. I don't know if he'll be, you know, Fayed will need that, but there is $1,000 that I don't think has been used yet either for that allocation as well.
You
But
know, I think it would, he usually uses it
okay.
all, and he uses it towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay.
The one thing though would be, it'd be interesting to see if he's just using it to use it. And he uses it for equipment we need, but is he getting things sooner than he needs to because he has this money available? Maybe we can, you know, allocate some specifically for the DAPE gym, since we do give so much to Mr. Burgess. I think that's something that we should revisit maybe this spring, I think, because I mean, it would only make sense. You have, in some cases, more need for specialized equipment versus what Mr. Burgess purchases. Eva?
I was just wondering if going forward, we could include the DAPE funding or the DAPE support through us with the regular PT support, and then start to kind of peel away some of those special education teachers that, I mean, since that pool is so small and Kevin's getting $1,000, maybe 25% of that can always go to DAPE or something, or, you know, especially if he's spending it to spend it, which is awesome. But
I don't know that he does. And I
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you know, if we're a special education school, we're a level 3 special ed school. So I think it's fair that our PTA funding reflects that in what we support. So I would just be in support of looking at that in the future,
I
of
agree.
seeing if we can reallocate some of those funds and not even make it 50-50, but, you know,
I think
set some of that PTA fund aside for DAPE. Do you, Diana, do you think you have ongoing needs that could use yearly funding like that?
Yeah, I mean,
but-
the things that I lack right now are more that specialized equipment. Like I could use more bell balls and, you know, sensory items and musical instruments and, like, you know what I mean? Things that are more specialized that, yeah, Kevin doesn't have. So, you know, like I steal his scooters, but he doesn't have some of that more specialized equipment.
Mhm.
Do you think he would ever use some of your equipment in his classrooms? Can you see any crossover back, or is it not really?
The only thing is I usually only need maybe, let's say, a 6-pack of like those bell balls.
Sure.
And so that it would cost a lot more to get 30 of them
Of
than
course.
it costs to get 6, you know.
I was thinking more maybe stations or something with kids going through different areas, just trying to get more use out of it. If he's going to fund some of it, then it'd be nice for him to get a day of use out of it or something. But
yeah, and we could definitely look at it. I mean, even like I could use another swing option in the DAPE gym. You know, we have like a T swing, but the other swing we have is a wooden platform swing that seriously makes my eyes pop out of my head, because the
That
only
makes
kids
me
that I'm
pop
okay
into
with,
my head with my boys.
I mean, because I'm like, okay, the kids that come in there, some of them are just in there for gross motor breaks. They're not kids that are working on like posture or strengthening, which is what that swing is for. And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're gonna kill each other. This is terrifying. so really the only swing I have for those more active kids is that T swing, which is wonderful and it's still in good shape. So that's awesome and it works great. So I've never really, you know, looked for anything else, but I mean, another option would be good. So stuff like that, that's more specialized for the DAPE gym. It would be nice to have that option, but
I
Angie,
guess
you have a question?
for going forward, I wouldn't mind knowing some of those items and what the prices would be. If you know, if you could make a small little wish list for,
Yeah.
if we could, you know, do a lot of good with a few $100, that sounds really awesome. So,
yeah.
but not to
Well,
put more work on you. I mean,
yeah,
we
no,
get
that's
around
okay.
to it, so.
And beyond just my DAPE kids, even a lot of our special education students use that space for sensory breaks and motor breaks. So it really does touch a large number of Lake Elmo students, even like buddies that come with for DAPE or for motor breaks. So
All right, Angie.
So actually kind of what you just brought up there, which is the wish list of, I think since that list for what the teachers were requesting was so well received, I mean, just in listening to the presentation, I was thinking like, okay, you're asking for jump ropes, or like, I mean, I think the money, just asking for the money is fine, but I think people are really willing to, I need this. And if you say that, I think we'd actually have a lot of people who'd say, hey, let me buy the jump ropes, or let me buy this. So, I mean, that's where I think actually using a little bit more of our community resources, and not just for the financial, but people like to donate things, I mean, and know what they're going for. So, I mean, I'm fine with the money, but I also think reaching out and saying, hey, we need this, people are going to step up. I saw what people responded to when just asking for some clothing. I mean, I think we really could utilize our resources better by just asking people straight out for these things too.
I guess one thing I think we should make sure we do is to have some uniformity in the items that we have, and requesting as a particular item, and not just say we need jump ropes, because we'll get many different types and qualities and sizes, and you know, so we need to be very particular about what we ask for. I'm guessing that's probably what we'd like to do, but I agree.
And if
People like to
they're
get
on
items.
if they're on Amazon, we could have Diana set up an Amazon wish list as well, like a lot of other teachers have done, so that we know, hey, this is what we specifically need.
yeah.
And that way she's got that list, and parents and other people have that list as well.
Eva?
What about starting with the wish list over the holiday season, and then we agree to fill in what's not bought by the community, or do we not want to do that? So, you know, Diana will get her stuff taken care of, but if we want to reach out to our community to get some of those items taken care of, or what do you guys think?
I hesitate with that just because it's tricky, because everyone is spending so much with Christmas. I'm just concerned it might get lost. Plus, if she's, I think with something where she has kind of a kits in mind, that she'd just want to have everything all at once to fulfill, instead of maybe getting some balls here and some jump ropes, but then they don't want to get the playground balls, and so that one, you know, no one's fulfilling that, and she's waiting weeks. It'd be nice for her to get the kits out as soon as possible. So I think if it's something where it's time sensitive, or you want them all, or you need all the items at once, I think in that case it would be great for us to consider those kinds of requests. But what Angie mentioned, if it's something that, you know, it's an ongoing need, or maybe the DAPE gym realizes, oh, some of these jump ropes are really starting to get worn, maybe we should put something on our Amazon wish list, see how, you know, if that gets fulfilled. If it doesn't, it's no big deal. We're not in the weeds yet, but you know, if the replacements start to trickle in, that'd be great. But I have a feeling with kits like this, I just hate for the items to trickle in for something like this, especially when it's so pressing with the kids being at home right now.
I will say it would be so ideal to get these out, because if we have till January 25th, I mean, that's another month and plus of service. If I could get these out, like work my butt off on it for the next week and get them out like right before like Christmas week. I mean, I don't know how fast stuff would come, but you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, that would be so great if they could have it for a month
Right.
where they weren't necessarily going to do much. But
yeah, that is true, because they'd miss out just being away for winter break. Teresa?
I just wanted to check, Diana, have you, if for some reason like you offer these out to families and they aren't taking them and you have to store these, do you have an allocated space? Because I know storage is a hot commodity at a lot of schools. Is there, I don't know how big the kits end up being, but if you get 12 of these, do you have a place to store them?
yeah, I'd be able to. So in my DAPE gym, I have those like, what pretty color would you call that? Like coral salmon cupboards in my DAPE gym. So I can use the top of those if I needed to. Like stuff is up there right now, but it's not organized. So I could definitely, I think, find space for them. But that's a good question because, yeah, I mean, there's always a lack of storage, but I'm lucky to have a space at all at Lake Elmo, so that helps.
One question, just out of curiosity, because you do work at another school, Diana, would this stay with Lake Elmo students?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say though, I was like, gosh, if this works well, I might have to bring it to my Lily Lake PTO and ask them like, hey, what have you guys been thinking?
No pressure, but Lake Elmo did this. So
no pressure, but just saying.
What do you guys think? Do you want to keep discussing? Do you think we might be ready for a vote? And of course, we'd need to decide whether we want to do, if we want to do it, and if we do, whether we want to do 6 or 12 kits. And again, the 6 kits, I'm sorry, I had it here. Oh, the 6 kits were $236.85, and the 12 sets were $383.92. And Michaela, we do have that amount, that $5,000 of the board allocated amount, so it would be covered. What does everyone think?
Simplicity, 12 makes more sense to me than 6, just to have them cohesive. It's all done. They all get it. Otherwise, it just kind of feels, I don't know. I think 12 makes more sense to me.
The price per item is cheaper significantly to do 12, so. And I'm ready to vote whenever you guys are.
Okay. So let's say, is there a motion to purchase 12 DAPE activity sets for $383.92?
I'll motion.
Okay, so it's Eva. Is there a second?
I will.
Victoria will second. And we will do a roll call, Laura, if you please.
Hang on, let me get the second in here.
And because everybody here is a PTA member, everybody gets to vote. And that includes Angie, Kathy, and Casey as well.
Good, because I have them on the list. All right, Renee.
Yes.
Eva.
Yes.
Michaela.
Yes.
Victoria.
Yes.
Teresa.
Yes.
Holly.
Yes.
Casey.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yep.
Angie.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Did I miss anybody? Okay, good deal. It's unanimous. Motion carries.
Yay. Thank you, Diana, so much for being here and for explaining that to
Thank
us.
you guys so much. I really, DAPE can be easy to overlook. So I really appreciate the survey in the first place and the follow-up. It's very appreciated because really that got me thinking about the need that I did have that I didn't think to address, you know? So
That
thank
makes
you
me so
much.
happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you for saying that.
Well, if anything, this has opened our eyes to what challenges you have. And so I'm hoping we can change, our stipend amounts and what we offer to you specifically. And it changes the way we see the DAPE gym. And you are right. And it has gotten overlooked, and we can't just lump you just into special education because what you do is so specialized and so necessary. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you guys.
Diana, one more thing. I don't know if you sent it maybe in the last hour or two, but if you could fill out a budget request form just for us to take care of that paperwork. And then once you email that to us, then you can purchase the items and then fill out the reimbursement request form. And then we'll get the check back out to you.
Perfect. That sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the Give to the Max results, I'll kind of breeze through the rest of the budget update. We did well. We had a very, very, very lofty goal of 13,000. We didn't quite get there. We got just over 5,000. But that's okay. And, I had kind of wanted us to do that because there was the opportunity to perhaps win additional grants. We did not win those additional grants, but that's okay too. And so my hope was, the reason I set the 13,000 was because if we got the 13,000, that would have been it for the year. We would balance out, whatever costs that we had set to incur with, the income that we were getting. And so now the question is, do we want to have another fundraiser? Do we want to use the surplus amount that we had in the bank? We had a sizable surplus going into this year, so we're very lucky. I don't have it written in our agenda, but the partnership plan, when we did that Pony Up for Kids fundraiser for the partnership plan, I kind of didn't expect too much because they said, well, you need to, if you could, please raise $2,000, and anything beyond that $2,000 we'll split with you. So we would have gotten 40%, they would have gotten 60%. Well, we just got over $2,000. So I said, okay, well, it's, that's all right. We got their word out, and it was something new for them to try. And we wanted to show them that we supported them because they give us so many grants throughout the last few years. Well, to our surprise, the executive director, Rick Robbins, sent us a $1,000 check for participating in the first one. His goal is to hopefully get all of the schools involved in the next one for next year. So this was just kind of a thank you to us for taking the plunge with them, because I think it was just us, and maybe it was Lily Lake was the only other school that kind of got into it. So that's exciting. So I guess the question is, do we just want to rely on the surplus? Do we want to hold another fundraiser? I anticipate us having a couple other things here and there, like the dining out. We'll get maybe like 100 or a couple hundred for each dining out event. I know Kelly Hoskins is thinking of doing the Square One Art again, and we got this fall, we got a check for, I think, about $1,500 for the Square One Art, which is awesome. So, in addition to relying on surplus, if we choose to do that, I think we'll get some smaller fundraisers here. And actually, maybe I should have added. Eva, let's chat about the book fair now, since we're talking about budget anyway. What are our options?
Everything's going to be in scholastic dollars, any funding we get. They say that they're really flexible. We could have a drive-through book fair, which would work great in Minnesota, right? We could do things that are case book fair, just cases, and have it vary, like start at one end and move through and go to the other end. And it's, so there's things we could do. I don't know if we have the space for it in Lake Elmo. I don't know if anything live is a smart choice right now. Then we always have the online book fair, which is going to get us a very small amount of scholastic dollars. So it really takes like 20 minutes on our end to set up. So it's nothing as far as us, but it's not going to generate tons of revenue for us. So, you know, it's just, if we want to do it or not, or if we think our community would like it, or if we want to just leave the scholastic stuff up to individual teachers this year and let them reap the classroom awards. I'm not sure. We did spend down a lot of our scholastic dollar account, which is good. I don't think it's meant to be just sitting there. So a lot of teachers bought items for their classrooms, and we're, I think, 90% done with that. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. And what she was talking about was with the Give to the Max contest. We had the grades competing against each other. So the two winning grade levels, the first grade was the top earning grade level, so they each got $300 per classroom. And then the second place was third grade, and they received $200 in scholastic dollars per classroom, which is great. So we had that, so that's no additional cost to us except giving them the scholastic dollars, which was awesome.
Can I say something about that quick, Renee?
Yes, of course.
I heard from, I have a first grader, and her teacher had just sent out something to the classes right before the Give to the Max, saying, when everyone went home for spring, especially in first grade, they send home bags of books. It's not just one book that kids take home from the classroom library. It's bags of books. And she said she only got 25% of her classroom library back after spring. And so she was so thankful for that, to be able to rebuild her classroom library with that. So I just want to pass that along.
That's awesome. Thanks.
That's so nice to hear. I'm so proud of the work we do with the book fair and stuff. And it always makes me emotional when kids get books, and I love it so much. So that makes me so happy. Seriously, it makes me, I don't know, wakes me up in the morning sometimes.
Well, maybe we should do the book fair then, since it's minimal amount of work on our end. There's not a lot of cost on our end.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, and then we can
Might
build
be a
that.
little bit of normalcy for the kids. I mean, if they
Mhm.
want to order their UV pens, they can. Their eraser packs.
And then bring it back because
$12
it broke.
journals that will end up under my bed.
All right, Eva. So let's plan for something. Let's plan for something in the spring.
Okay, what does spring mean to you?
Well,
Is that like February, or is that like April, or is
no,
that like?
I would think March or April.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
can do it,
whatever
like,
we
right
want,
before
it's up to
spring
us.
break.
It runs for 2 weeks.
Okay. And Vicky, you were saying that before
We can do
spring break, you think?
right before spring break.
Yeah, because I think after
The 2
spring break,
weeks before
everyone's
spring
gonna-
break, because spring break is
Oh,
late
sure.
this year.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That sounds
It's
awesome.
not,
Yeah.
it's not over my birthday this year.
Ah, yay. Okay, before spring break, yeah, I can set it up for the 2 weeks before spring break or something like that.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
So, because we've done so many fundraisers in the fall, I'm kind of hesitant to do any more larger fundraisers at this point. Teresa, what do you think?
Can I just ask a question? So you said that you were aiming for 13,000 and we ended up getting 5. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're short 8,000. Is that what we're kind of looking to make up?
Yes, but we do have the surplus. One thing I forgot to mention as well, and this will help towards that total. So, I just heard back from the JCs. We had requested $2,000. She did not tell me the amount because she said she doesn't reveal the amount through email. But they are sending us a check. They did approve our request, and we had specifically asked for money to cover Cara Nottingham's contract with her. So that's $2,000. I'm not sure that they'll give us the entire $2,000, but we'll probably receive it in the next week.
No, was that 13,000 to cover Karen Nottingham?
Was
that to cover that when we had it at larger amount?
No, this was to cover everything, and then if we had done the traditional contract with Karen, we would have had to have a separate one to cover her
Okay.
contract. So, but this does include the $2,000 contract that we have with Karen. So, so we don't have to worry about that, which is really nice. And then there was the $1,000 from the partnership plan that we had not budgeted for. So I think that now we would then be short about 5. Does that sound about right, Victoria and Michaela? Yeah. And then we have surplus amount. And I asked Erica what she thought. She said there are several options we could, you know, it's not ideal to keep that entire amount in our bank account, but we could spend it on items such as, you know, the DAPE request if we wanted to use it. If we didn't have that extra income that we built into our budget, we could use that for that. Any other requests that might come in, we could use it for that. Or if we fall short of our fundraising, we can use that to kind of bridge that gap too. So,
Do you know what the surplus is that we have?
Michaela, do you have that amount, the specific amount from surplus?
Yep. When the school year started, it was, I can give you the exact number, but I know it was about $21,892. So that's what we started with before the school year started.
And have we used a portion of that throughout the year?
Yeah, I mean, we're up, our account right now, I think is at about roughly like 27,000. So we, you know, of course we've spent some, but we've also gained some. So right now we're doing fine. We're ahead. But a lot of staff have not requested another big expense is the instructor stipends, and a lot of staff have not requested anything yet. So that's like $5,000 as well.
Sure.
And that usually happens. There's usually a rush before spring break. So, which I don't blame them. Eva.
I forget, are donations to the PTA tax deductible for the person who is donating or not?
Yep. Yes. And we could give them a receipt if anybody needs a receipt, or if they do it through PayPal through our website, they'll get a receipt. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is it possible, if you said a lot of the teacher requests come in right around spring break, would it be too late for us to see what happens then? And then right after spring break, if we find ourselves in the hole and feeling like we need to make up a little bit so that we're in a good place for next year, would we have enough time to plan a small fundraiser and make our goal, you know, 4,000 or 5,000? Don't try and do a big 10,000, a big carnival or anything. But would that be an okay way to go about it? Just see what the need is
I think it
after
would be
spring
fine.
break, if that's a big time.
Yep, we can do something small like a penny wars, or we can, you know, the Give MN website. I mean, that's all year long. It's not necessarily just for Give to the Max. So if we had to, we can just say, hey, we're short. If you can, please donate, and we can just give them the same fundraiser page for the PTA. So we can always do that as well. So it sounds like we're just holding off on a fundraiser, which I think is great because we'll have small things here and there. The book fair, well, the book fair is scholastic, but like the dining out nights too, sometimes those can be pretty successful. So I say we hold off if you guys are okay with that. Okay, awesome. So let's move on to staff appreciation gifts. So we had kind of talked a little bit about possibly giving something to the teachers. I brought up specifically special education staff because December 2nd was Special Education Day. Unfortunately, we went to all distance learning right before that. And so we weren't able to do anything for the staff. They just weren't in the building. So I didn't know if we wanted to discuss giving a little something to special education. And then in addition, do we want to do something for the teachers? However, Paula emailed me and said that the teachers had pulled money together and bought I think they bought either lunches or special small gifts for support staff. And then if you guys saw on Facebook, I think it's pronounced Duke's in Woodbury, the Vietnamese restaurant donated $500 to Lake Elmo, which is awesome. They gave it in the form of $25 gift cards. And unfortunately, that only covers about 20 teachers. And so Paula said we have 60 teachers. So what she and the support staff were wanting to do, and they wanted us to see if we wanted to be involved as well. The support staff was going to pool together their money and try to raise some money to make up the difference. But because it's $1,000 you'd have to make up to get 40 additional $25 gift cards, they're asking if we would be willing to pitch in and help as well. So the request from Paula was, would the PTA be willing to make up the difference from whatever the support staff can't raise to get the remaining gift cards to give to the teachers as a present for the holidays? So I told her I'd talk to you guys. She said she was collecting money through tomorrow, so I don't have that amount of what we would be spending or asked to spend. But I just wanted to talk to you guys. Did we even want to do staff appreciation gifts for the holidays? We don't normally. We did one in the fall, which is atypical because we only do one for teacher appreciation in the spring. But we did a welcome luncheon in the fall, and I didn't know if you guys wanted to do something for the holidays as well. So if anyone wants to jump in. Laura?
Just thinking outside of the box, would this be something that we might want to pass along to the public too and say, hey, we got this great thing, but not all the teachers are going to be covered. Does anybody in the community want to donate to help cover the other teachers? Just a thought.
Okay. We can do that. We probably get a pretty quick response on that. We could set up something on our PTA page, our PTA website. Just have an item, donation for teacher appreciation. Any other ideas, you guys? Or any other thoughts?
I have a question. We have like funds that we use for like the staff appreciation.
Yes.
What do we have left in that line item?
Michaela, do you have that ready?
Would we have, okay, so we already spent from the Lake Elmo Inn. Would that be what that is?
Mm-hmm.
From this fall? Do you roughly remember how much that was? This computer, the school computer died on me. Was it like $400 or $500? Does that sound right?
I think it was 400.
Okay.
It was like $410.
$1,000 left then for
Did you say
staff
Victoria?
appreciation.
It was like $410.
Okay.
Okay, so we have about $1,000 left for
Mhm.
staff appreciation.
We usually have 1,500 set aside just for staff appreciation week in the spring.
Usually, did you say 1,500 for staff appreciation usually? Sorry.
Yeah.
So if we intend to do something in the spring, we need to reserve those funds for that.
Mhm.
So we'd have to pull from surplus or
Okay.
community funds to support this. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, it could be, we still have that, we do have that $5,000 allocated by board vote. So that's we have $5,000 that is just kind of there for whatever the need may be, right?
Mhm.
So that it could be pulled from that too. But again, we're already,
Right.
we're in the situation that we're in. If we don't have to use that $5,000 this year, that's great too, so I mean, it's allocated, $5,000 is allocated right now for it, but we also don't have it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did the money for Diana come out of the 5,000 or where is that, or that's surplus?
Yep.
That's
No.
coming out of the allocated by board vote.
Okay.
Do you guys just want to wait and see how much the amount would be? Would that kind of sway your decision then if we find out after tomorrow when she sees how much people have raised, how much the teachers have raised?
Is there any way we can wait to see how much they've raised, and can we put out that feeler for the community as well? And then from there we can kind of see where we would stand.
Sure. We could do that too.
Part of me is like a little, this is oftentimes where like parents are giving a lot, you know, I think a lot of parents are giving holiday gifts, whereas I would hate to take, you know, a lot where we wouldn't be able to do it that week in the spring too,
Right.
you know.
What happens if they don't raise these funds? Like, so they're giving these 25, did you say it was 25 gift certificates?
Yeah.
To, like, who gets the 25, and then if they don't raise the funds or get the funds, what happens? Do we know?
I have no idea. You know, the picture, I didn't zoom in on the picture, but it looked like there was one check. So I don't know if in Paula's head, she was just thinking, if we give 25, we could give it to, you know, so many teachers. I don't know. I don't know what her plan was for that. She just kind of threw that idea out there. I don't know if she had a plan B if they couldn't raise that money. Anybody else? What is everybody leaning towards? How do you feel about when you first heard about it? What are you guys thinking?
Fund it.
What?
Go ahead, Kathy. Fund it.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to wait right now a little bit and maybe do something in the spring, but that's not to say that we don't do anything. I don't know, like what I want to do versus what our finances are allowing us to do and things. So I'm sorry, my comment is not helpful at all.
Laura?
I'm leaning toward no, since we typically don't do Christmas gifts, and then with this set an expectation in the future that we're going to do Christmas gifts and staff appreciation, and since we don't really have the funds right now, and we just, you know, put up that spreadsheet with all the gift ideas for the teachers, and I think a lot will be coming in that way. I don't know that we can afford to do it right now.
Could we make sure that every teacher gets a nice handwritten letter or note from a parent in the community and just kind of spread that around the PTA, or make sure that they are getting some sort of heartfelt appreciation? I mean, I don't want to like assign people teachers or anything like that, but I mean, I don't know, that might be what we can do, is to encourage, make sure that that's being shared, and then spoil them rotten in the spring when we can hug them and see them hopefully and do things like that. But that's just, I'm kind of with Laura that I don't want to set a precedence. I know this year is odd and bizarre, but I think even just writing a nice note and, you know, just taking it upon the board, if we each do 10 people, is that difficult to do, you know? I mean, I don't know, that would be my contribution or my thought, I guess.
We wouldn't do this next year because we couldn't, because the PTA sets that rule where we can't give gift cards typically, because that's like giving them income. But they just made the exception because we're doing distance, and so they just kind of eased that regulation for us for this year. So yeah, so it wouldn't, I understand that, but it wouldn't be something that we would do anyway. But
I guess
think
I wish we could look into the future, and I know we can't, but if this is a 1-year dip in our budget, then yeah, let's spend it. But if this is going to be something where, you know, we're clawing back for 3 or 4 years, it's a different story. So again, I don't know exactly what to do, but I'm struggling with what I want to do and then what I think is prudent from a financial standpoint.
The only thing that the only thing that I keep thinking about, which we've talked about this, but I don't know what will happen if they don't come up with the money. And it's not like that's not our problem per se, because it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see, like, if it was a smaller amount, maybe if they only needed like $200 or $300, would you be more inclined to change your mind? Or is it something where you're just like, yeah, maybe not? Because if it was the whole thousand, then I would say no. Because I mean, if we're cutting back on Car in Nottingham and other services that we give, then I would say no. But if it was something smaller, maybe. Would it be okay if I'll chat with Paula, I'll tell her kind of what we discussed, and then just see after tomorrow if she happens to know what what the difference would be and how much more they would need for that. If I came back to you guys and just said, hey, here's what she says, what do you guys think? And then maybe we could do a vote via email, and we'll include you you as well, Angie and Kathy, and then you can kind of join us in that vote.
That's a good idea. I think see what they need. And then also maybe just ask her to, like, what's your plan if you don't get the funds, if we're not funding you? Like, how are you, is there a different way to divvy them out, or is there a giveaway, or what are you going to do with them? Like, how's that going to work?
Gotcha. I will do that, and I'll come back and I'll let you guys know. Did we want to do anything for the special education department? I was just thinking something small, like bringing cookies or something when everyone was there in person. But now that we're not in person, I don't know if maybe I don't know. It's tough because I did something for the custodians. I just purchased that. I just purchased a little something small for the custodians for Custodian Appreciation Day. And I thought, since our special education department is working so hard, thank you, Diana, and company, that it would be nice to give them something like $5 Caribou gift card, say, here, here's a hot cocoa on us kind of deal. Do we still want to do that?
I'm going to throw out that most of your special ed teachers love chocolate. So if you did as little as just buying a bag of Dove chocolates and putting it in people's boxes,
you could do that.
You would just nail it. So just saying.
Are they all in person?
I think everybody's in.
Okay.
Everybody's in every week, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I don't think like level 2 and 3 level 1 and 2 are in person at all at this point, but they come in to do services quite a bit. So.
Okay. That's good to know. And I know, and Paula did say that there were several of the staff members who were affected by COVID. There was like an exposure in one of the classes. So that was the other thing too, where she knew that even before we decided to go to all distance, that some of the staff wouldn't be there on the 2nd when we were planning on celebrating. So, all right. Well, thank you for that insight, Diana. And we could definitely, and I can even run out to Target and get chocolates, and we'll put chocolates in your thing. So we'll figure something out with that. Is there anything else about staff appreciation you guys want to chat about?
I did just want to ask a question about, so like, I know that we have pickup where we're picking up Thursday and Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a possibility, like, I know that like we can mail like the gift cards and stuff to the school. Is there a possibility to have like a bin where we can, any parent that wants to drop off any kind of a present or gift or whatever for the teachers can drop them off and leave them there for the teachers, instead of like just making it a universal drop off and your pickup, to make it easier and more likely to get parents to drop off?
Yeah, because it's really, so last week we did like little mulling spices to give to some of the staff, just as a fun thing. And it's really hard because you're like, okay, who do I give this to? And like, I make my son write a card every day that we drop off. And like, so he has to pick one of the staff or teachers to drop off a letter for. And it's really hard because you're like, okay, where do I put this? So.
That's a good idea. Maybe we can ask if they could set out a table or something even.
Yeah. Or didn't we have something for, the raffle tickets? Wasn't there something that was?
Yeah, there was like a garbage can with the
with a garbage bag in it. I mean, yeah, with like some sort of a lock kind of thing. Because I mean, if it's just a tiny little envelope slot, it might not be big enough to get some of the gifts in, so something a little larger.
So maybe a
but
table.
yeah, I've thought about that too, or even just letters and notes. How's the best way to get them to teachers and
Yeah.
things like that.
I'll ask Paula tomorrow. I'll see if there's something, or just like a basket or something, like even a laundry basket or something, or a box.
Did everyone see that the drop-off location or pickup location is changing
Mhm.
to the carpool lane? So just a
Yep.
little
It's still
different.
Jim or no?
It's still Jim. It's
Oh,
Jim.
okay.
now. Yeah.
Okay.
It changed from office to Jim.
Got it. Yeah,
Um,
if you find out that they're able to do a drop off, if we could like post a Facebook thing, or if they could drop it in like the Lake Elmo Messenger or something like that, so that parents know, since it's Thursday or Friday. But
mhm.
I was just going to say that even if we could encourage people to, write a note of thank you, that there's a place you could drop off. It's a
Right.
great art project for kids to do too. So.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Does anybody have any other thoughts about teacher appreciation? Thanks for bringing that up. That was a good one to try to figure that out. Anybody else? All right. So Janelle's not here, so we won't do a dining out update. The last thing on the agenda is we have our Youth Service Bureau events in January, February, and March, which is going to be very exciting. So because they are on PTA meeting nights, we are shifting our PTA meetings to begin at 6 o'clock in January, February, and March, so that we can then log off of that Zoom link. And is that how it's going to work, Eva? Or is it going to be?
It's not confirmed. I'm assuming.
What's that?
I'm assuming they have their own link since
Okay.
they have so many participants.
Sure.
So, yep.
Okay.
I'll verify with Mary, but I'm assuming that's what it is.
Okay. So yeah, so we and then I guess we'll just send out the Zoom link for the PTA meet, the two separate Zoom links for PTA meeting and the YSB events. We'll just kind of send that out maybe two weeks or so before each event.
Can I ask you a question? Is there a reason? So like when the PTA links or any meetings like this are sent out, they don't include like a calendar attachment to them. And is there any way, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this, but I'm just thinking of like the attendance is so low on some of these things, like especially when Mr. Gordy is like doing these presentations. Is there any way that there can like be a calendar, like add to my calendar option? Because I think people just lose these emails. Like,
right.
And so is there anyone who would be able to add that button?
I don't know. I could ask. Maybe I'll ask Jeanette, because it's just me. So I'm just giving it to Rhonda and Paula. Just the link, and I don't know how to do any of that, so I'll figure that out. I'll ask and see if there's something. So add to my calendar. Yeah,
just because I talked to one parent, like we actually canceled, like in the spring or in the fall, we had canceled a soccer game early to like come, and I was talking to parents and they're like, I couldn't find the link, so I just didn't join. It was like, oh, well, you should have added it to your account,
Cute. All right.
I think, Renee, I think it's like an iCalendar add-in or a widget.
Okay.
That's kind of the language you'd want to use.
Okay. And I wonder if maybe, at least for the people whose emails I have, maybe I could just email them the invite, like the
calendar invitation. Absolutely.
Yeah, the calendar invitation. Maybe I'll do
Put them
that.
in your calendar invite.
Yeah, but I'm even like when they send out some of the like messenger things, it's like, God, if we could just add that, I think people would be more likely to actually add it to their calendar and remember that it's on there.
Right.
Maybe people are less lazy than I think they are, but.
All right. I will hound somebody to help me figure that out. And thank you, Kathy. I'll look into iCalendar at it. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else anybody wanted to mention? Eva, is there anything else we need to do for the Youth Service Bureau events?
No, I don't think so. Just spread the word and we'll try to get lots of people involved. And I think it's gonna be really, really awesome, you guys. Just something unrelated, not related to PTA, but I know that they're such big, huge supporters, is that our local Lake Elmo JCs are struggling for members. Mm-hmm. So you have to be under 40. So I can't join. But if you know, or if you're younger than 40 and you live in the area, or if you know somebody Please, they do so much good work for us. They really, really do. They're in danger of disbanding because they don't have enough members. So I really can't tell you too much about it. I kind of discovered them when I was like 41, and I was like, man, that stinks. I gotta go be a lion or something. So I don't know if I just think about that if you're of that age bracket, or a neighbor or a niece or a cousin or a younger sister or somebody. They do so much good work. So I would hate to see them dissolve because of a lack of interest, because I think the interest is here in the community. I just don't know if people know about it is all.
Can you do like part of a PTA, like a social media push on that, like letting people know?
Yeah,
Kind of
we
using
sure
the
can.
PTA channel to call.
Yeah, we couldn't. I think, yeah, we've there's been PTA parents who have kind of done a shout out on the page, but we could definitely do something more official. I don't think that would be a problem at all. They do so much for us,
Yeah.
and
And
for
what
the
are the age requirements?
I
You have to
think
be
you
like
have to be
18 to
18 to
40.
40. Yep, 18 to 40. So, any of our like recent graduates, I just think it would be a wonderful opportunity for them to get some mentorship, or just some really good networking.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
think
that's-
it's really great. So maybe even just maybe letting our people at the high school know too, if some of our counselors or things like that, people who might say, you know what, this kid would totally, or this person, this graduate would be really a wonderful fit for that. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's lots of, I'll look into that more. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Diana, our special guest, and Angie and Kathy. Thank you so much for being here as well.
Casey too.
And Casey too. He's gone now.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Okay, yes.
How come there aren't more men on these calls? I just don't get it.
That is like the
I
time.
don't get it.
I don't either. That's why I wanted to do a shout out to your husband, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
right?
I did. Yeah.
No, you're totally right. I would love to think of ways that we can get our father and male guardians more involved, because let's think about that, you guys. How can we do that?
And that's something that we've heard on, with those PTA conventions and stuff. Eva, I don't know if you heard that when we went to the one in the spring, but that's one of the huge issues, is getting men involved, because they think, everyone thinks the PTA is the stay-at-home mom who bakes cupcakes, and that's, it's totally not the case if you look at this board. So getting men involved is a big challenge, but I think in our community we could do it. And it's so great having Casey there. Annie Porbenny, her husband Francis, he had come to at least 1 or 2 meetings too. So we have men who are available. It could just be availability too. So who knows? Maybe we'll make
Please.
No, I don't buy that.
I'm going to tell you that we are all just as busy, if not busier, than any of the male counterparts in our lives.
How'd you get your husband to
We
come?
make
What was-
time
what do you-
for it. Yeah.
He was, you know what? I was out running around. I went to the library and did a pickup, and then I took the kids to Dairy Queen because I don't know, life.
You're awesome.
And then when I got home, Casey was like, he had to work actually. And so he had his computer up and he was doing some Excel stuff, and then he had the meeting on. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I want to attend this. I want to go. And it wasn't our calendar. I just had gotten home. I don't know. He self-selected in, but it's a conversation we had a long time ago about a lot of different things related to how things were going to be structured for us. So I don't know, but I asked him the same question. I'm like, why are you the only dude on these meetings? What are you going to do? But he's not going to text his guy friends and give him a hard
Bring
time.
5 of your closest dude friends.
I don't know. Do we need to have a beer drinking contest on one of these?
Or
I don't
if it's anything in my neighborhood, we have to share barbecue tips, or hey, what kind of you're smoking some meat? What are you doing to that? Okay, all right. That's what we need to talk about. And then they'll be talking about that the whole time.
Well, you guys are the best.
Just an observation.
We'll figure it out. By the end of the year, we'll get more men. We'll have Gordy lead like a men's group.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for being here.
Motion
And
to,
Yeah, of course.
and we do need to adjourn the meeting. So is there a motion to adjourn,
a
Teresa?
motion to adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second? Laura, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And Diana, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And so just go ahead and send me the budget request whenever you get a chance to, this evening or tomorrow.
Yep. We'll get
and then-
on it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so
Bye.
much.